As you all know, the trailer was out, and the time is near. Another game, another year, another lump of money that a AAA company will siphon out of my pockets. WWE 2K23 is almost here, and I'm excited. Well, kinda. The last installment was a big upgrade from the last one, but it was pretty bare bones to say the least, and it really didn't last long in terms of playability for me. So, in light of making WWE 2K23 last until the next installment, here are the 10 things that have to be changed in order for me to play long term. Let me know what features you want added or changes you want to be made for 2K23, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe. It helps a lot. Number 10, unpredictability. Now, this isn't a feature necessarily, or even an addition, but more so a change. Back in the older games, you never knew what was going to happen when you would perform a move. Ladders would go flying this way, a table would halfway break, your wrestler might flop over the barricade, your wrestler might break his neck on the ropes, stairs would phase through the announce table. There was just so much that would happen that's out of your control, and this was the beautiful thing about it. There's just something refreshing about not having control over your environment while you hit your opponent with a move that was banned 10 years ago. This would be a great change, and it would allow matches to never really flow the same, always giving players something to look forward to. Number 9, the mixture of arcade and simulation. 2K has this long-lasting issue of not knowing whether they want their games to be simulation or arcade. Games like 2K15 and 2K18 suffer from this fact the worst. Ever since 2K14, 2K attempted to make a perfect simulation game, and when they would make an achievement or a step forward in this aspect, they would take a few steps backwards in other categories. We would feel more restricted, and the games would just seem a little more boring. 2K19 was the best example of a simulation game that 2K has created, but it was still flawed, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say 2K23 was still more fun to play. 2K22 took a more arcade approach and still grounded itself with some simulation aspects. Whoever's idea it was to basically take out stamina completely in 2K22 was a genius, and they need a raise immediately. I want to run around the ring and inflict as much chaos as possible. Why on earth should I care about my wrestler having to breathe? Who cares? I'm not arguing for simulation or arcade style gameplay, I want both, but just make it fun. Number 8, make it more bloody. Think back to your favorite rivalries, your favorite matches. A lot of them were intensified by one of your favorite wrestlers bleeding and gushing all over the ring. Listen, I'm not asking for the game to be rated M for blood and gore, but come on, man. I just hit Seth Rollins 36 times in the head with a chair, and there's only a sprinkle or two of blood on his forehead. Really? This game is rated T for teen. And you know what other game is rated T for teen? Each and every one of the UFC installments. And go look at how some of the fights, there's blood all over the canvas and the fighters. Let us bloody up the ring, and for the love of flightless birds, let me toggle blood online. There has never been a wrestling game that has allowed you to turn blood on while playing online. Number 7, let us have full control of our moves. I want to be able to pick up my opponent, walk over to the side of the ring, and rearrange his neck alignment on the ropes. Now, 2K did add a carry system which is kind of similar, but it's not as fluid as what I'm asking for. There's this weird barrier between throwing someone off the top of the cell or the top of the cage and just landing a move on top of them, where you're kind of like, man, that really should have flung them off the top. There's no unpredictability, or you can't accidentally fling someone off the top of the cell like you could in the old games. I want to do a move and accidentally fling somebody off the top of the cell or out of the ring or drop them on the ropes by mistake. It would make for some really brutal and hype moments, but it would also add to the unpredictability factor I mentioned earlier. 2K, let me control my moves, man. Number 6, create a story. This doesn't need much explanation. I remember being a child and asking my father if I was allowed to add in curse words for the story I was creating. He said no. Just bring it back and let it be accessible online so we can play our friends' stories. It doesn't even have to be changed. Just allow me to play my buddy Joe's story about Roman Reigns' love affair with Hornswoggle. That's all I'm asking for. Number 5, create a move. This was an awesome feature that allowed you to make moves that didn't even make sense. They weren't even possible. They weren't physically possible to pull off in an actual real-life wrestling match. You can make something devastating, or you can make something literally useless and ineffective. Regardless, let me make my moves, and let me use them online against my friends. Number 4, a good career mode. Wrestling games have been plagued with bad to mediocre career modes for the last 7 years. Take advice from your old games. I had the most fun playing the first ever SmackDown vs. Raw season mode. You could really be a snake. You could be a good guy. You could compete for a woman's contract. There was literal indirect sex scenes. Now, granted, the misogynistic stuff wouldn't fly nowadays, but still, you get the point. The mode had depth. Let me actually get invested into a career mode. Give me a bunch of options. Let me feel in control. Let me be a scummy guy like Edge, or a guy everyone loves like Mysterio. If you have to, take advice from the Fight Night Champions career mode, but just let us have a bunch of options. It had a great story, but you couldn't really make decisions in that game. Take that great story, but just let us make decisions. Let people have varying outcomes in career modes that actually mean something. Let me be a heel. Let me hit someone in the back of the head with a chair like Seth Rollins. Just let me do it, 2K. Number 3, crossplay. Do not punish people for getting next generation consoles. I stream a lot and I can't play with half the people that watch me because I'm playing on a PS5 and they don't have that console yet. I'm not asking to be able to play with people that are on PC or an Xbox, which it is possible though, but at least allow me to play with people that have the same brand of console as I do. It's literally the same game and it just splits the player base in half when I can't play with the boys because they can't spend an arm and a leg on getting a new console. But I mean, come on, get your change up. But really, 2K, let me play with people that have a PlayStation, because I have a PlayStation. Number 2, special guest referee. Now, this one accompanies each and every match that people want to see brought back, like Inferno, Buried Alive, etc. But the one and only game mode that could make this game playable for decades is the one and only special guest referee. Let me screw my friends over. Let me fast count them. Let me officiate beef between my friends and assure them I'll call it down the line just to pedigree them both. Let me put on that beautiful referee shirt and literally ruin someone's day. Every match would be a special guest referee match for the first few months of this game being out, and I can assure you that much. Please, 2K, if you don't do anything, bring this mode back. Number 1, make it competitive. Now, this one is personal for me, but I feel like the biggest thing that the last installment lacked was the skill gap, or the competitive side of things. The best man didn't always win, and most of the time, they didn't win. There were so many ways to cheat the game and exploit to get the upper hand. I'm not asking for something super deep and layered, but give me a skill gap. I was pretty good at the last game and even made tutorials, but people would literally break the game and use exploits to beat me. It wasn't even a wrestling match at some point. It just turned into who can loop someone in a chain of overpowered animations so they can't fight back first. And there's the list. What do you guys think? Did I miss anything? Let me know down in the comments below, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.